Hey, what is up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream. First and foremost, want to ask everybody and hope that everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holiday, whatever you might celebrate during this time. And I also want to make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel and like this video, because at 10,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away 10,000 KASPA whenever that decides to play out. How's everyone doing today? Day after Christmas. I hope everybody got what they wanted. Anybody who doesn't celebrate Christmas, I hope you still had an awesome day. Also, how does my volume sound? Let me check it on my own side here just to make sure. Yeah, I think we're good on volume. So, it's been an interesting few days in the KASPA world because HTX, obviously, as all of you guys know, have listed KASPA spot with the USDT pair, and the volume is just continuously rising, which is awesome. HTX is one of the bigger exchanges in, I believe it's the Asian part of the world, because Justin Sun, I believe, owns HTX, and he's obviously the founder of Tron, which does all of those stablecoin transactions. And he's popular over in that side of the world. So I think people underestimate how big and how many people use HTX. Right? We always think about Binance. Obviously, that's the biggest exchange. We think about Coinbase. We think about Crypto.com. But HTX is fairly large exchange, and it's showing as of right now. So I also wanted to go over wallet number one scenario, and one of my subscribers had sent me a some screenshots of Wolfie talking in the official KASPA Telegram, and he was giving his thoughts on who he thinks wallet number one is, or could be, right? And I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So, why don't we just get started? Well, we'll talk about that for a few minutes, and then we will answer some questions. We'll get through a couple of these, though, first, just the hello questions. CryptoGasu, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. I know you're here almost every week. Man from Bogota, also here basically every week. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. Market's not looking good. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see a lot of goodness in the market for the first half of 2026 at a minimum. We got to let all of the macro and liquidity the liquidity stuff that's happening before our eyes. We have to let that settle in, and a lot of it's going to trickle in over the first half of 2026. And unfortunately, I don't see. I think we'll get a counter trend rally. Probably Bitcoin roughly back to 100K or close to it. Altcoins will rally too, and there's probably going to be a lot of people that think, "I told you, this is it," just to have it die off again um, getting the true altcoin rally that we all want. It's going to happen once the macro situation is fully in our favor, and it's had some time, like I said before, to just trickle in and fill in those cracks that have been bare and empty for 4 years now. So it's one of those things that sucks because we all thought, based on 4-year cycles, we're going to get a massive rally at the end of this year. Should be in it right now, or ending it right now. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Nothing was really set up for us. I thought it would potentially escalate and happen in time, or at least enough of it happen in time, and that clearly didn't happen. So it's one of those things we just got to be patient. Eventually, we're going to get it. I don't know if it's going to be 2026. I don't know if it's going to be 2027, or I don't know if we're going to have to wait until 2029. It seems like this liquidity cycle is just expanded a little bit. So hopefully it's either next year or the year after. But either way, I think the second half of next year we'll still see some good things. You gotta think about the political atmosphere in the United States as well. If the markets are good, the party in power usually maintains their power, right? So that would be the midterms, the Senate, and the House. If the markets are doing really well, there's a much better chance of that going their direction. When markets are not doing well, it usually flips to the opposite party. And so I would imagine that this administration right now wants everything to look really good going into the midterms. I'm just guessing, right? Anything could happen. But that leads me to believe that at least, as a base case, the next year should be much better than 2025, I think. At least for altcoins. I know Bitcoin had a decent 2025. An okay 2025. It hit new all-time highs twice, so you can't really hate on that. Good morning, fellow Caspians. Hopefully all had a Merry Christmas. Albane, I hope you had a Merry Christmas as well. This is actually, I wanted more games, but we have to settle with new socks and underwear. Yep. New socks and underwear, though, would have been a lot nicer along with the gains. So, let's move on into what we're going to talk about today, because I wanted to show you the volume, 24-hour volume of HTX, because it's continuing to climb. The first post I saw about it, it was like a 1.7 million, which was the top amount of volume off any exchange, or at least it was the second at that point. Then it moved up to like 3 million, and now, since we've been listed for a couple days, we're up in the 4 million range now. I don't know if you guys can even see that, but let's KASPA HTX right here on top. 4 million in volume in the last 24 hours. The next biggest volume is GroveX. I'm not even sure what GroveX is and why it's brown instead of green. And then Mexigate and Bybit. And it's like 4 times the amount of these guys in volume. And I'm wondering if that's why the price of KASPA is kind of held, kind of where it's at. A lot of other projects in my portfolio are dropping right now. KASPA's kind of sat sideways for the most part, and it's had more green days. Let's just say it's had more green days than than other projects in my portfolio. Over the last few days, anyway. So I think we underestimate what HTX can do. And I know it's not Binance, I know it's not Coinbase, I know it's not Crypto.com, but that's $4 million more in trading volume than we had before. And I expect this to probably continue growing as more and more people realize that KASPA is listed on HTX and what KASPA is, right, when it's all said and done. So do any of you guys use HTX? Did you open up an account with HTX after they listed, just as a courtesy for the support? I'm curious because I haven't opened one. In fact, I don't even know if I can in the USA. Maybe they have KYC options. But let me know. Let me know if you guys have an account or opened one up after the fact. And let me know if the exchange is even good. Is it easy to use? But this is what I really want to show you guys. Trading volume, which is good, obviously. But check this out. This was a screenshot of the official KASPA Telegram page, and Wolfie is in here talking about somebody asked him, maybe wallet number 1 is an exchange that already listed KASPA. And he says, or somebody else says, or maybe HTX. And Wolfie chimes in. Let me see if I can make this bigger so you guys can see it. So Wolfie chimes in and says, unlikely, it's an entity betting. He says, unlikely, it's an entity betting in CAS long term. So he says it's unlikely the exchange, it's unlikely HTX. It's an entity that's betting on KASPA long term. And this MD Hossein says, so you know? And he says, I know it's not HTX. It could be Justin's son, personally, buying KASPA, but not the exchange itself, which would be interesting in and of itself, him buying KASPA, owning Tron. I feel more along the lines of Grayscale, Galaxy, the Winklevoss twins, or Fidelity Digital. The Winklevoss twins would be interesting. He says, Wintermute doesn't sound like a match for me. They are HF quant holders, whatever that means. So, what do you guys think about Grayscale, Galaxy? The Winklevoss twins would be very interesting because they are Bitcoin guys. Obviously, they hold other stuff. They're not maxis, I don't think, by any means. I guess that would make sense because now that I think about it, they're the owners of Kraken, I think. So that's probably where he's getting that from now that I think about it. And they obviously Kraken listed, which is why he said maybe Justin's son because HTX listed. And obviously those two exchanges understand what KASPA is and are on the forefront, before everybody else. So the Winklevoss twins would be interesting. Fidelity, Galaxy, and Grayscale are his guesses. I'm wondering at what point we're actually going to figure it out. Do they have to? I think they have to actually themselves report who they are wallet-wise. in order for, I guess it would be Cas.stream now, the Explorer, to be able to know who it is without guessing. But I thought that was interesting. Out of these, what do you guys think it is? Or who do you think it is, potentially? I don't even think it matters, to be honest. It's somebody, we'll find out eventually, but it's somebody who's obviously got a lot of money and we probably know about, right? It's probably not somebody that's going to come out of left field that, could come out of left field as far as we've never thought about that, but I guarantee it's probably somebody we know. So it wouldn't be a shock of like, who the hell is this person or this entity? I'm pretty sure we probably know who they are. Catalyst Financial Catalyst. I guess you're talking about when we're going to see the market run again. Yeah, Financial Catalyst is what's going to take us to new highs, probably. But all of that stuff in the background needs to be, at its... it all needs to come together, and usually that doesn't happen overnight. Do you think CAS was overhyped in 2023? It's a good question. I don't think as a whole it was overhyped necessarily because of what it does. You could argue that it was overhyped in a sense of how fast that people thought it would move price-wise. That I could see, being considered overhyped. But the project as a whole, I don't think is overhyped at all. The price was moving because, smaller exchanges at the time were listing it. But people were excited. But basically what happens... if you really want to get to the brass tacks of things, when the price starts moving, people FOMO in. And in 2023, the price just kept going up over and over and over and over again. And I think there's a lot of people who had FOMO. And they're like, what is this project? And why is it moving like it is? And I think more and more people just piled into it because they saw it was going up. And that's literally... The best way to get people to buy your project, honestly, is for the price to just go up. And go up somewhat consistently for a little while, and then people get FOMO and they buy in. But I imagine that a lot of those people then, after that, they didn't want to miss the pumps. They wanted to make some money, but they probably, a lot of them, did their research after that, and found out exactly what it is and why, potentially people were buying it and holding it. But any project, so to answer your question, any project where the price just goes up for a while and it's outperforming the market, I guess you could say it's technically overhyped because it moved really fast in a really short amount of time. But the project as a whole, in my opinion, is not overhyped. I think the the baseline technology and it's basically the third generation of crypto. And it's leading the third generation of crypto. I saw an interview, I think it was earlier today, with Charles Hoskinson. And I think he was talking to Altcoin Daily. I don't really watch that channel very much because it's just, fluff basically, about your top coins. But Charles was saying something about the Midnight token, and that it is supposed to be a token that is for everybody, and that you can opt to make your end private or semi-private or not private at all, right? So you have the option, and you're going to be able to pay your gas fees in any token that you want to at some point. Right now you can only pay your gas fees in Cardano, right, obviously. But he claims that eventually you're going to be able to pay in any version of token you want, so that you don't really have to leave your preferred, blockchain in order to use it. But then he also mentioned that they're going to be using the Amazon and Microsoft, rails in order to scale it, because they've already built out a customer base and done all the groundwork for the data centers and everything. And in my opinion, Cardano, we know it's not fully decentralized. It's better than some other projects, but it still has like a 30% or 40% token allocation to the. Charles probably has majority of that, I would imagine. But I think I don't know if there was VCs or anything involved. But either way, there's like a 30 or 40% token allocation to the team or the early investors. And when you've got your new hotshot project, right, out, that in his case, he said it was going to change crypto as a whole, and you're using the most centralized rails you can possibly use, then I don't know that is something you want to put the decentralized tag onto, in my opinion. But I've heard, the reason I mention that is because KASPA, with their vprogs, from what I understand, are going to have a feature. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anybody knows, but I've heard this through the grapevine, that you're going to be able to use a privacy feature or not, depending on what you choose to do while you're on chain. So you can have everything you do private, or you can have it all open source, so that anybody can see what's going on or what's doing. So that's what made me think about the Charles interview that I saw today. Because he's saying that it's like revolutionizing crypto, when I think in the back of his mind he knows. He's talked about Ghost Protocol in the past in interviews, and mention Aviv Zohar and Yonatan Sampolinsky's name. So he knows. I think what he's trying to do is try and get his version of this, privacy, choice of privacy, blockchain out there before KASPA does, so they can say they had first mover advantage potentially. But KASPA is also not going to be using, I don't think they're going to be using Amazon and Microsoft, because that would probably just defeat the whole purpose, in my opinion. KASPA 26, baby, the year of the super cycle. We will see. We will see. I'm done predicting anything, because what usually happens is when the majority of people think one way, it doesn't happen. And that's basically what we just saw happen and play out in real time. But there's a chance, because like I said, the political party in power in the United States right now is going to want everything to look good going into the end of 2026. So we'll see. It could be the end of 2026 that we get our blow off top. It could be into 2027. It could potentially go all the way to 2029 if, 4-year cycles are still intact. Dung Knight tells everybody to just keep stacking. And I agree with that 100% right now, because we're sitting at, I still think that there's a chance that altcoins could get crushed in the first half of 2026 at some point. But I would argue that even buying right now, you're sitting at a very good level, in my opinion. And it's not guaranteed that altcoins crash in early 2026 either. And so you don't want to think that one thing has to happen and that's what you're basing your buying habits on, because you never know. If nothing happens and you're waiting for a half a cent KASPA to come and it never does, then you just missed out on what potentially is roughly the bottom at 4 cents. Swing traders can do stuff if they want to, but I don't think I would be good at swing trading. I literally just stack projects that I like until we get our blow off top, which I thought was coming at the end of this year. But since it didn't, I'm going to keep stacking until we finally do get the blow off top. And in my opinion, that's the easiest way to play the markets. Buy good projects, hold until we get a blow off top, whenever that might come. Even if it's not on the timeline that you originally thought it was going to be on. CAS the same price as nearly 30 months ago. That is correct. If you look at you're correct, but you can look at any coin that's been around for a while and cherry pick certain time periods where they, were one price and then 4 years later they're the exact same price. KASPA just hasn't been around long enough, and this is its first technical, coming back down to these levels. But you can go through Bitcoin's chart, you can go through Ethereum's chart, and you can look at certain cherry-picked, levels. And I'm sure at that point in time, like, let's say Bitcoin, hit a high of 10K, and then a few years later it was back down to 10K again, in a bear market or, whatever it might have been. And I'll bet you the people at that point in time were saying the same thing about Bitcoin. Oh, well, 3 years ago it was 10K, and now we're at 10K again. And look what it's done since. So that's going to happen with every single project that sticks around. You're going to have periods of time, years out where you're going to be at the same level. But then it'll go higher again. So it doesn't behave like a typical winter mute pump and dump special. I think it's Michael Saylor. The buy pattern is similar to how he buys Bitcoin. Yeah, that would actually shock me, in the fact that I just didn't think he would be able to come out of his, mental bubble that he's in, where Bitcoin is everything. It's a possibility, though. I know he knows about KASPA. Whether he's buying it or not is a different story. Wallet number 1 may end up with 10% of the supply. the top 20 wallets might end up with half the supply. Doesn't that replicate VC ownership, but over a drawn out timeline? Yeah, kind of, but it wasn't like they got... It's different because it was fair launched and anybody can do anything after the fact, right? So there wasn't any pre-mine and there wasn't any VCs being given a price that's far below what retail is able to buy it at. These guys are buying it at the same price retail's buying it at. And, the cards are going to shake out the way they shake out. If KASPA, and you guys got to think too, like think about Satoshi's wallet. Nobody talks about this. Satoshi owns a lot of the supply, or a huge portion of it, or at least a portion of it, right? He owns a ton of Bitcoin in that wallet, okay? And I believe that was pre-mined. So everybody says it was fair launched and everything, but the Satoshi wallet holds a hell of a lot of Bitcoin, and if he decided to sell, then, or they, or whoever holds the keys to that wallet, then they could, it's the same scenario as what we're talking about here in wallet number 1. But wallet number 1 didn't pre-mine anything. They're buying it at literally the same price that we are buying it at right now. So the playing field is fair. There's just some people out there that have a hell of a lot more money than we do and are able to purchase more than we are. But they're purchasing it at the same price. So it's technically fair, right? You're always going to have that kind of scenario where some people just have more money than others. And if they really like the asset, then they're going to buy a lot of it. Like Michael Saylor right now, right? What does he own? Like 1% of Bitcoin now or something like that? If he would have started buying Bitcoin earlier, he would have a lot more supply than that. And it's the same scenario. But he's buying it at the same exact price that retail's buying it at. And you just can't stop that, really, because it's decentralized and, anybody who wants to buy it can buy it. That's what it's there for. Can it cause issues later? Maybe. I don't know. But, as long as... that's why I tell everybody, too, is, no matter how convicted you are in any project, it's good to take profits. You don't have to sell your whole bag, but realize some profits, even from a bag like KASPA. Because if something does happen, then you've at least realized some profits, you've made some money, and, if God forbid something does go to zero, then... you're not going to commit suicide over it. Hopefully you wouldn't anyways, but I can't stress enough that taking profits, even on a project like KASPA, is, in my opinion, necessary. Because you don't know the future, right? As bullish as I am, and as bullish as all you guys are, we can't predict the future necessarily, and you can hold a bag moving forward, but taking profits is never a bad thing. Even if it's just a little bit of profits. Once we get some sort of blow off top, or we 10x from where we are right now, then I'm going to start taking a little bit of profit. And I've told you guys, I have a bag set aside long term, and I may even add to that bag, this cycle for all I know. But the rest of my KASPA'S, I want to realize it, and I want to go out in the real world. I want to buy a new house. First and foremost, I want to pay off the current house that I'm living in, get some renters inside of it so I can make an income off of it without having to finalize paying the mortgage. And then, I'll decide what I want to do from there. But it's never bad to realize some gains and put some money into the real world. I know the dollar is going to zero, but you can invest in other things, like real estate, for instance. I know it's slow, but you got to have a place to live, and it will accrue value over time for the most part. So, Maybe you want a new car. Maybe you've lived your life poor your whole life and you just want, something, right, to realize in real life that makes you happy. Everybody's got their own, their own vices and their own hobbies and their own, pathways that they want to go with their money. But like turning it into fiat and just buying something that makes you happy is not the end of the world. Yeah. Boy, do I wish. Wallet number one's probably KDK, yeah. I think I posted about that once on X. Obviously, it was a joke, because I'm clearly not that rich, or I would not be... Probably would not be doing YouTube. Or maybe I would still, I don't know. I enjoy doing it, so maybe I would. Who knows? One thing I can promise you guys, though, is even when, let me say when, because I think there's a win, not an if, we get our altcoin season, our blow off top, and we all make a ton of money, I will still be here. I've got at least one more cycle in me. Even if I make a ton of money. Which the jury's still out on that, too. Who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong on KASPA and I just screwed everything up. That wouldn't be good for any of us. I don't think I'm wrong on KASPA, by the way. I'm just throwing out hypotheticals that would derail my my future plans quite a bit. And maybe by then we can maybe I can buy a house with KASPA. So I don't even have to turn it into fiat money. But I can promise you guys I've got at least one more cycle in me. And probably more than that, so I'll be around. Even if it's only once a week doing a live stream, I will be around. And when I get time, I'll make more dedicated, pre-recorded videos. Eventually, when my life slows down a little bit, I'll be able to get in here and make some more of those videos. But my whole life right now is pretty hectic outside of here, which is why I've slowed down on that recently. Sailor could just buy it all in one go. Yeah. Well, I mean, he could probably. And then the circulating supply would be zero. No, some other people would still be selling. That's the thing about markets is there's always sellers and there's always buyers. Even Bitcoin, right? It's, supposed to be the best store of value since gold. And people still sell it. So it doesn't matter how good the asset is, how long it's been around. You're always going to have buyers, you're always going to have sellers. So you'll never have to worry about, maybe someday, but I doubt it, you'll have to worry about the supply getting so tight that nobody's going to be able to own any. What's up, Bingo Bango? Bingo Bango. It's a good name. '26 is going to be an exciting time for CAS with VProgs. Yeah, so the main scenario here is I wouldn't worry about price movement yet because price will move. And obviously there's the occasion where it could run against the market because it did it before. But I'd argue it's because it was new, the market cap was super low, and it was much easier to move. Monitoring the upgrades and the team still staying active and producing what's on their roadmap is going to be huge. And I have full confidence that that is going to happen. Because these are not the type of developers that are going to shortchange anybody and just stop all of a sudden. Unless, God forbid, something happened to them, which I'm not even going to throw out there in the universe. But Jonathan is, I mean, you guys know his history by now. He's very respected in the space, and he's been part of the Bitcoin, security protocol, coding way back in the day, 2011, 2010. And for anybody new who's watching, he brought Ghost Protocol. He brought basically what KASPA is right now to Bitcoin in 2011 and then, or maybe 2010 and 2012, 2011, 2014, somewhere in that range. But he brought it to them at a conference twice because he understood that Bitcoin needs to scale at some point or it may not be able to function any longer. And he was denied by the core devs and all of that good stuff back in the early days. And because of that, because of the rejection, KASPA was born. KASPA is what Bitcoin was supposed to be scaling-wise. Or could have been, I should say, scaling-wise. And so that makes me wonder, like, the future of Bitcoin, like, are they going to be open to anything? Or are they just not going to see the brick wall that's in front of them in 15 years and write it into the ground? I don't know what's going to happen. I think we've just experienced KASPA's first bear market. It's possible. I still think if the whole market corrects, though, like first half of 26, I don't know that KASPA is going to be able to come out scotch-free of any more downside. Time will tell, obviously, but typically altcoins follow other altcoins in the bear market. And if we have a miniature bear market before, all this liquidity is, pushed into the economy and the markets, I don't know that KASPA is going to be able to overcome some future downside in the short term. KAS down 80%. If Bitcoin drops like less than 50 instead of 70, then an 80% drop is similar to what a 95% drop. Yeah, I agree. So if Bitcoin doesn't get its like full correction, then altcoins won't correct as much. And I still think that from the top, so at 100, so this is providing we are going to get, what you may consider a bear market in 2026, even if it's shorter. I think we're going to have like around a 50% correction from the top. So if October was the top and it was 125 roughly, then I think like a 60 to 70K Bitcoin would be the bottom, roughly. At least that's where it would form a bottom. It may flash crash below that. I don't know. If that's the case and Bitcoin falls 50, yeah, you're right. Altcoins may not go 90, 95 this time around. They would probably be... they would hold up a little bit better than previous bear markets. Infamous, Merry Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful day yesterday. on the beach, right? Of the Philippines, I think. Technically, CAS has been in a bear for a year and a half. I mean that's also but a lot of altcoins have, so it's hard to tell. But that's why there's a potential for CAS to lead out of this bear market and overperform again. I just don't know what the chances of that are. Like probability wise, because typically in the second bear for a project, they either die or they follow the rest of the altcoins down and then make a comeback next cycle. But they usually don't have 2 cycles in a row where they outperform in the bear market. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is that they're building and they're building a lot. And so that's one of the things, like if we are in a bear market, that's one of the things that you want to watch for. Projects that are consistently building and playing out the roadmap that they have set, right, to the public. And price will follow that eventually. Good projects that keep building and keep implementing, breakthrough technological feats, they will get their praise. And we've seen the first wave of the CAS praise. There will be a second wave. I just don't know when exactly it's going to be. Yeah, it makes sense to start scaling out at like 40 cents instead of some mythical high number. Yeah, and just like you're DCAing in, for a lot of people, the best way to take profits is just DCA out. Take a percentage out when you get to a certain price, right? And then you've realized some pretty good profits on a small percentage of your portfolio. If we go higher, take another percent out. If we go higher, take another percent out. And that's why I've made videos in the past of having a plan specific to yourself and just sticking to it. But have your plan ready so that when things start to get crazy, then you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off, figuring out or trying to figure out what the hell you're going to do. You want to have that plan in place. And so when the time comes, you're ready to execute without even thinking about it. Sailor could quickly corner the market. I doubt he would bother to slowly DCA it. It would be peanuts to him to corner. If he was buying, he would already have more than Wallet 1. Possibly. Unless he is Wallet 1. And that's just the way he decided to do it. I doubt he's Wallet number 1, but it's who knows at this point. We'll all find out one day. It was 2 days ago in Thailand, my bad. Still, Merry Christmas to you. Are you American, Infamous? Or are you like native to the Philippines? Or did you just move there and you're from somewhere else? All right, guys. I'm going to take off for the day. I'm extremely hungry. I haven't eaten much all day. And I got to go make something before I pass out. So, I appreciate everybody who came in and hung out. We had a lighter amount of viewers today. I think as we go into awful price movement, just not as many people are interested. But I appreciate everybody who did come in, did hang out, including you, Infamous. And I will see you guys in the next video. Make sure to continue to pack your damn bags before it's too late. Also, we're not going to end on that. Subscribe to the channel and like the video. Pay your bar tabs before you leave, even though we're not in the bar. We're in a home bar right now. We'll call it the home bar, okay? This will change pretty quickly because Christmas season's now just about over. But make sure you subscribe. 10,000 subscribers will give away 10,000 KASPA to one of you lucky winners. And all you have to do is be subscribed to gain access, and it's free. So I will see you guys next week.